A man's voiceover starts the movie. He explains that you never considered the consequences as a child and believed in your invincibility. Despite warnings from others about potential repercussions, he highlights a crucial truth: anything was possible. For him, that possibility became reality. As Doug Martin arrives in a beach town, he enters while reading a book and admiring the stunning beach view. He and his parents drive into town, and while unloading, his mom teases him about the number of books he brought. Their house is next to a pier with several boats. Doug visits the pier and meets a friend who talks about the influx of women, the absurdity of the situation, and how Doug could easily find a romantic encounter. The two then walk on the pier and head to a bar where a man pulls out the cord for the electronics, which causes the band playing to stop. He receives a couple of boos, but then he starts to play guitar with the band, which the people enjoy. Doug's friend then hands him an apron and says summer has commenced. Doug comes home and shouts to announce his arrival but finds no one there. He then heads to his room to look at pictures. From his window, he notices a new couple moving in next door. The woman, Lena, is striking and Doug tries to see more of her, but she goes inside. Her husband is Elliot Harper. Doug watches Lena from his window until she looks up and catches him, making him quickly look away. Later, he takes his bike out and manages to catch sight of Lena as she bends down to remove the sand from her shoes. Doug then goes to his friend, and they start a conversation about girls again. The two then take a mattress to an old boat shed, where they hear laughing on the other side of the beach. The two then open their beers as his friend tells him that he will ensure he has an amazing summer. When he returns home, he sees that the neighbors have moved in. Suddenly, his father calls and takes him to meet the new neighbors. Elliot asks Doug if his father has told him that he knows a lot about boats, and Elliot invites him to come and take a look at his new boat. He mentions that he might hire him as it will pay much more than just mowing lawns. The next day, Doug checks out the boat and sees Lena returning from swimming. While Lena showers, Doug watches her. Suddenly, Elliot appears, asking about the ship. Doug explains the damage is mostly surface level. Elliot mentions he might leave for some time. They discuss Elliot's salary settling on 12, although Elliot would have offered 20. Later, Doug again looks through his window towards the neighbor's house and sees Lena changing. Suddenly, Elliot enters the room and tries to force himself on his wife, which makes Doug look away. The next day, Elliot drives to the waterfront, where the guard stops him and tells him he must check his identity. Doug talks with Elliot and tells him that the guard is a bit strict. Elliot responds that he likes it better this way. While the two stand on his boat, Doug asks Elliot how he managed to get all of these things, and Elliot responds that it was all possible because of money and good looks. The next day, Elliot sees Lena walking by again and suddenly hears a scream. He quickly runs out and finds Lena by the car, looking scared because of a spider. Elliot removes and kills the spider, then fixes Lena's car. However, things become awkward when Lena approaches him. Later, he shares the story with a friend, who warns him to be cautious around her husband, implying he's not someone to mess with. On his way back from his job, Doug runs into Lena, who is sitting on her porch. She tells him that she has locked herself out of the house and would need his help to get in. She then asks him to keep this a secret between them, as Elliot had asked her to take care of herself. It suddenly started raining, and Lena requested Doug to grab a rock and break the back window so he could open the door and let her in. Doug does so and manages to get in and open the door for her. She invites him to come in for a drink and hands him a beer. The two start talking, and she notices that Doug has a cut. She starts to clean it and seductively tells him that he will live. Doug then kisses Lena and tells her he's sorry it was bad, but she doesn't seem fazed. She tells him to try again and kiss better. The two start making out, and Lena starts to strip. Doug helps her take her clothes off, and they end up having sex. The next day, they wake up in bed together, and Lena tells him that he was good last night and asks if he had been with the girl before. He jokingly refers to the sex they had as his third time. Doug smiles on his way home, reminiscing about his time with Lena. He meets a friend who tells him he called him the previous night and plays a voice note of Doug moaning. His friend then suggests some girls for Doug to sleep with, but Doug declines. Over the next few days, Doug looks at Lena and starts working out for her. He is working on the boat when Lena once again comes up to him and tells him that her husband sent her to check up on him. They get into the ship and Lena asks him to close the cover of the boat and starts flirting with him. She once again starts taking off her clothes and they end up kissing once again, which leads to sex. That night, Doug is working at the bar when he sees Lena coming in with her husband. His friend approaches, points at some girls, and expresses optimism about the night. The next day, while Doug is biking, he sees Elliot stop by a store. He halts and enters the store, where he finds Lena. They sneak out the back and have sex, but are interrupted when Elliot enters the store looking for Lena. They pause, and after a quick kiss, Lena returns to Elliot. A while later, Elliot inspects the boat that Doug is fixing, tells him about oversight, and then gives him a lecture about why he is giving him a hard time. He says that Doug reminds him of himself and is working hard. He also says that he's going out of town. Doug takes advantage of this and meets Lena, and they have a picnic on the bed. They have an intimate conversation, and Lena takes out a phone for him. She tells him that Elliot is paranoid and that the phone will help them talk. Doug rushes to the kitchen, and Lena follows, but the gardener sees them. Afterward, Doug goes back to the waterfront and spots Elliot by his boat. Nervously approaching, he notices Lena is also there. Elliot asks Doug to test if the ship is seaworthy. While on the water, Elliot narrowly avoids a beam. He mentions Doug giving advice on women and inquires if Doug has a girlfriend, to which Doug says yes. Suddenly, the boat's engine fails. Elliot checks it out, and during this time, Lena mentions she's considering divorcing Elliot. When Elliot returns, he asks Doug to fix the engine. Later that night, he receives a call from Lena, who is crying and tells him that Elliot assaulted her and that he has gone on a business trip. Doug drives to the hospital and tells her that she needs to talk to the police about this, but she stops him and they go home. A while later, he was working when he received a call from Lena, who was sunbathing beside the beach. She invites him over, and they end up having sex in a boat shack. Lena tells him that she feels free with him. Lena then tells him about her husband's first wife and how they are still embroiled in a court battle. Doug's friends ask him about his activities and mention he is seeing someone, which Doug ignores. When he gets home, he finds Elliot has returned. Suddenly, Lena called him, and when he went to his room, Lena asked him to come over because she needed him. Doug rushes to her house and finds out Lena and Elliot had a fight, and she hits him on the head, leading to Elliot's death. Lena seeks Doug's help, fearing trouble, and Doug reassures her they'll find a solution and advises acting normally. He goes to work at the bar, and when he comes back home, he sees that Lena has come to meet his parents. They have an awkward interaction, and Doug goes up to his room. Later that night, he goes to Lena's house, and she apologizes that she can't stay there, so she goes to his parents' house. Doug says they can make it look like an accident, but Lena tells him the excuse won't work. So Doug comes up with a new plan, and he takes Elliot's body to his boat and tells Lena that she will tell the cops that they had a fight and Elliot left the house. Just as the boat is about to leave, a security guard spots Doug and calls to him as Mr. Harper, but Doug acts like Elliot and takes the ship away. In the morning, the cops are investigating what looks like an accident and see the cops coming over to Lena's house. He sees Lena talking to the cops. Doug used a beam on the ship to cause another injury on the head and then used alcohol and a cigarette to set the boat on fire. Doug continues with his normal routine, serving a couple of cops who are talking about the incident. Later, a woman drives to town and meets with the police to discuss a serious case handled by the LA Trust. She explained that Elliot's large insurance fund was going to Lena, raising suspicions of foul play. The woman investigates further, questioning Lena about the couple's fidelity. Lena denies any affairs but becomes annoyed with the investigators' probing questions. The cops are also investigating the case, and the guard from the waterfront tells him that he might have a suspect from that night. The cops start talking to Doug's father, and Doug asks the guard about the suspects. He tells him that he thought he had seen Elliot that night, but that it might have been someone else. The insurance agent from before then goes to the house to look at the crime scene. She discovers the broken glass window that Doug left the night he first met Lena. The police also ask Doug's friend, and he tells the police that there might be some woman who Doug is seeing. This makes Doug angry, and he leaves. Later that night, the agent comes to Doug's home and questions about the night Lena visited them. She tells them that they would like to see Doug. By this time, Doug is panicking and he tries to call Lena but cuts the call when his parents return to the car. Doug answers several questions at the police station, and the agent asks him about Elliot's relationship with Lena. The agent tries to push Doug to reveal the details, but his mom intervenes and tells the agent that she won't allow her to frame her son. Lena sends Doug a message to meet her at a boat shed. She explains they need to spend some time apart and then leave. When Doug gets home, an investigator waits to take his fingerprints and a mouth swab. They put Doug in a car where an agent questions him, but Doug remains silent. Doug then tells his friend and his parents about a situation. Meanwhile, the cops find a match for the blood sample the agent gave them. Doug's attempts to prove his innocence are thwarted at every turn, presumably by Lena. For example, a gardener of the Harpers, who had seen Doug and Lena together, turns up murdered before the police can talk to him, but Doug manages to escape on his bike. He goes to the water where he meets Lena. Just as he reaches the spot, Lena tears her clothes and starts shouting to let her go, trying to make it look like an attempted rape. The police arrest Doug. He tells the police that they know him and that he needs to do something to clear his name, so one policeman lets him go and he rushes to Lena's motel to get his hands on her cell phone. But just as he's looking for the phone, Lena comes out and the agent comes in. He tells her that the phone has complete proof of his innocence. The two women then walk out and Doug notices they both have the same matching tattoo. There, Doug realizes that the agent is actually Lena's lover and has been her accomplice since the beginning. Everything flashes back to him as he realizes he is just a pawn in a bigger game. At first, Lena believed Doug to take the fall. However, in a last gesture of love, she leaves Doug the cell phone which contains the exonerating evidence he needs. The women are then shown flying off on a plane after claiming Elliot's insurance fund. Just as the film ends, Doug explains how he was eventually sent to prison but on reduced charges for a short period. Lena and her lover are still on the run. He contemplates if he would do it all over again.